Welcome to the Moon Monkey Podcast. On this episode, we're going to be talking about The Hateful Eight, the eighth film by Quentin Tarantino. I'm just going to jump straight into the plot. Warning straight ahead of this, there are going to be spoilers coming up. So if you haven't seen the film, stop listening now, go watch it, come back, listen to this review. So basically, the film is an old-style western set in Wyoming, a couple of years after the Civil War, I think.
I don't know how far away it is for this, so I think it's quite a while, maybe, because they're all quite old.
Yeah, the Civil War is kind of within the memory of some of the characters.
The Civil War happened in history.
It did happen. We can't forget about it. We're not going to gloss over it. The film starts with two characters. We have John Ruth the Hangman, who is transporting his prisoner, Daisy Domergue, to Red Rock to be hung. On their way to Red Rock, they're kind of outrunning a blizzard. They meet on the way Major Marcus Warren, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he asks, like, "Can I join you?" I think it's the first part of the trailer. "Can I join you on the way to Red Rock?" They also pick up Chris Mannix, who is a guy who fought for the Confederacy in the war.
He was in some kind of raiding party.
I don't know actually if he fought for them or he was born while the Civil War was on.
His dad was certainly...
Yeah, his dad fought in the war, and he was born in the South. So that's kind of your first bit of tension there in the movie, because you've got Marcus Warren, obviously a black guy, fought for the Northern troops, and Chris Mannix, a really strongly, like, Southern states independence, this kind of character. So they set off. They eventually arrive at Minnie's haberdashery, which is going to be their stopover while the blizzard blows over. When they arrive there, they're greeted by a couple other characters. You've got Joe Gage, a kind of traditional cowboy-style figure. You've got an old general, Sandy Smithers.
Yeah. Bruce Dern.
Played by Bruce Dern. And you've got... There's so many characters in
Tim Roth,
Oswaldo Mowbray. And Mexican Bob, who we always forget about Mexican Bob. But Mexican Bob is now in charge of Minnie's haberdashery. He tells them when they arrive, Minnie and her husband, Sweet Dave, have gone off. So
Dave went to the other side of the mountain to visit family.
Yeah.
And immediately Kurt Russell, who is pretty suspicious of everyone, is very suspicious of the fact Minnie has left her haberdashery. Yeah.
So straight away you've got these characters kind of rubbing each other up the wrong way. They're very suspicious of each other. Like, I think when he asked Joe Gage, like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm on my way to visit my mother. Yeah. It's her birthday." And it's like, just even the way he says it, it's like, that's
Kurt Russell isn't having it. Kurt Russell isn't believing any of this.
He's not happy with that story at all. That's basically the plot of... That's basically up to, like, the first, I would say... Where are we up to? About a quarter of the way through the movie. They get to Minnie's haberdashery.
Yeah, there's just a lot of tension building. Really.
Yeah, it really is like kind of building tension up. One of the main antagonisms there is Sandy Smithers, General Sandy Smithers, and Major Marcus Warren, who were on opposite sides in the Civil War, and haven't really let this go. And there's kind of a fantastic kind of flashback scene involving, spoilers again here, Sandy Smithers' son, who... set off to kill Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Major Marcus Warren has been a kind of... He's a high-priced bounty for a lot of the southern states, I think. A lot of the people still want to see him dead.
He's a war hero to the northern troops, but very hated figure in the south.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson reels off this kind of story, which sounds far-fetched. Like, the thing is, in this film, there's a couple of things which you're not sure, are the characters just spinning this tale? Is it true? Is it not true? In a sense, it really pulls you in to that mindset of, I don't believe this guy, or I think that's suspicious. Because the story is really over the top. And the only person who could know if that's true or not is Samuel L. Jackson. And just prior to this, there's been another scene. Samuel L. Jackson, on the way to Red Rock, has a letter which is written by...
Allegedly written by
Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. And we've discussed this before, whether that's real or not. He tells them at one point, that's not real, I made that up.
Yeah, like the Lincoln... this is a huge spoiler if you've got this far. Obviously, you've probably seen the film.
Well, Linklater's like the first.
Yeah.
Pretty
But the fact that it isn't real is a big.
Yeah,
I mean that is debated throughout the film.
But again, there's no point in the film where you find out if it is real or not. So
I think there is a point where it's like it's quite obvious it's not, but
it's not real.
We've debated this too.
Okay,
I think it's not real. You think it might be.
So there are things like characters are talking, and it's very well done. You're thinking, are they telling the truth or are they lying?
Yeah, it's essentially once they get to the cabin, they're pretty much in there because the snow's outside. So it's essentially a whodunit because various characters then get bumped off, and you can't really trust anyone. Who can you trust? You
have the first half of the film ends with Marcus Warren shooting dead Sandy Smithers, and that's the first big moment of it kind of breaks the tension in a way.
Yeah. But it's after a very long story about what allegedly happened up a mountain with his son.
Yeah, we won't go into details about that here, but watch the film. You'll probably understand why we're not going to go into details about it here.
Yeah, I mean, because they're obviously Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Dern's character were not happy with each other and did probably want to kill each other, but they need a reason for one of them to shoot because otherwise it would be murder and they would be hung if they did get out of the cabin. So it was like they needed provocation from one or the other to take the first shot.
Yeah.
And there was that provocation.
The second half of the film starts with somebody poisoned the coffee pot. And this is what you're talking about, the whodunit. Mm-hmm. Like, the second half of the film starts with, while this story was going on, it kind of does a brief little flashback and shows you from another perspective of the cabin. And says, someone poisoned the coffee pot. Kurt Russell starts throwing up blood. Obi, the driver, starts throwing up blood because they've drunk the coffee.
Quite viciously.
Yeah, I mean, this really is like a film of two halves because the first part is a lot of build-up, a lot of suspense building, and the second half is just all-out gore, violence, blood splattering everywhere.
There's a bit more action in the second half.
Yeah, the second half
after the intermission because we seen the.
Yeah, we saw the Roadshow edition, so like we actually had an intermission, which I wasn't expecting in the middle of the film. So for us, that's why we're talking about first half, second half, because it was literally split into two halves. Whereas I know some people saw a shortened cut, which obviously must have played right through. But it's kind of, at the point after he shoots, I think even if you saw it run straight through, you would kind of feel like, this film suddenly like stepped up a gear. Yeah. I thought it felt like it suddenly turned into another film. It's like, this doesn't seem quite like the same film I'm watching that I watched the first half of.
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of was heavily influenced by the dialogue and the interaction between the characters, but there was a lot more violence and a lot more getting to the point and the after the first shooting. Yeah, I think that was the first bullet that was fired, which I wasn't really expecting.
So that was after the coffee pot's poisoned, that's when you really have the whodunit starts, and they're kind of who did it, and they've got them up against the wall. They're saying like, was it you? Was it you? And this is kind of one of the interesting turnarounds in the script as well, because Chris Mannix, the first guy they picked up, the Confederate guy.
The second guy they picked up.
Who told them he was the new sheriff of Red Rock. That was how he got on their trip.
They weren't believing him.
Yeah, they said, no, we're leaving you here. And he said, I'm the new sheriff of Red Rock. You got to take me or I'll hang you.
If you get there and I'm dead, you'll be hung for murder, basically.
So basically, then at this point, him and now Sam Jackson are having to work together because, they realise it can't have been me. Because I was sat talking to the guy. It can't have been you because you almost drank the coffee yourself. Yeah. So it can only be these three guys. And now we're going to get into some kind of major spoilers here. They do a longer flashback to that morning at the cabin. And they basically show what happened to Minnie and Sweet Dave, the other girl that was working there, a couple other people.
A lot of people vanished that day.
Yeah.
But the big thing was Sweet Dave left his chair, which is what Samuel L. Jackson couldn't believe because Sweet Dave just sits in that chair. And Sweet Dave is no longer in that chair. And
basically...
and you find out why Sweet Dave isn't in that chair anymore.
Yeah, you find out why Sweet Dave isn't in the chair. There is a point at which, they pull off, the covers of the chair, and there's a giant blood stain, and he's like,
That's what's left of Sweet Dave.
That's exactly what I thought. Actually, the point at which it does go back was actually slightly after that. There was kind of a bit of hoo-ha between the characters, and then it kind of does a great shot, a great kind of Tarantino style shot where the camera kind of goes down beneath the floorboards, and you see Channing Tatum hiding there under the floorboards. He'll do anything to get into a Tarantino movie. Yeah. He's there under the floorboards. He shoots up through the floorboards, and I think he hits Marcus Warren in the leg.
No, he hits him right in the balls.
Hits him in the balls. And yeah, basically at that point, because you're kind of like, what the hell? What's Channing Tatum doing under there? Because there's been like 2 hours of movie up to this point, and a few hours in that cabin. It's like, oh, what was he doing under there? So it goes back and explains that he's Jody Domingray, the leader of the Jody Domingray gang. His sister is Daisy Domergue. So him, the 3 other guys we see in the cabin, excluding Sandy Smithers.
He's already gone though.
They're all part of the Jody Domingray gang. And the reason they're there is to waylay Daisy Domergue and recapture her from John Ruth. Basically kill John Ruth.
Free her. Free his sister.
Yeah, and recapture Daisy Domergue.
I don't know if he captures.
Well, yeah, free her. Sorry, free her. Waylay them and it's like set her free. And so basically that's how it works out. Like a lot of people were not happy with this because it just seemed like you say, it was a whodunit, and then basically the answer was everybody done it.
Yeah, like that's maybe one of the issues. But when we talk about
after that point, it's pretty much just like bloodshed.
Yeah,
like almost everybody gets gunned down in a huge kind of Mexican standoff, gunned down by one character or another, and it's just
there's a lot of nobody survives this cabin. It's a cabin of death.
Yeah, it is just gore everywhere. So yeah, what did you think of the story? The script and the story?
I really thought like it was just so well written, and it was kind of a return to form of maybe Quentin Tarantino, because maybe his later films haven't always been as appreciated as maybe his earlier stuff has. But I think that worked really well. Just the great dialogue and the interaction between the characters, which really made it watchable in a lot of ways. That in a 3-hour film, you could have been like really, really bored, but I was never at any point thinking, "Oh, I want this to end." I was very entertained and intrigued throughout it, even by just little chats and exchanges of glances. Maybe it was a kind of spaghetti western influences of just the look between 2 characters.
It's a script that really relies on the dialogue and character interactions more so than action scenes. Yeah. I mean, there is kind of explosive action in the second half.
A load of it.
Yeah.
There's literally a huge explosion of someone's head.
But the first half is kind of more reliant on character building and dialogue.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, like I said to you before, like they could have easily done this as like a stage show. Like you could have just watched these characters on stage, and it would have been fascinating.
It could be a play.
Yeah, it could easily be done as a play. What if kind of you're not a fan of Quentin Tarantino dialogue, and you would like someone to like get to the point a lot quicker? Maybe not for you, but yeah, if you're a Tarantino fan, I think you would get a kick out of the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, if it's definitely like, if you just like a well-written script, then go and see it, because it's
I felt like the second half was more Tarantino than the first half, because Tarantino starts doing a voiceover in the second half of the film, and you have the flashback sequence, you have some of the violence, you have some of the kind of comedy violence even, which is more so Quentin Tarantino. But one of the things about this story compared to his other films is I felt like this was him going in a new direction, like really trying to do like a sensible film, if you want to term it that. Like a more... Yeah, like some of his other films, kind of, it's like he's playing, like they're more jokey, they're not really meant to be taken too seriously. Like even Django had an incredibly serious theme, but the way it played out was as though, this is more entertainment than serious.
There was a bit of humour, but I do think it was just essentially the whodunit. I mean, a lot of people have compared it to like a version of Clue, because it's just like, what's going on? Who do you trust? Who's poisoned the coffee?
Yeah.
Why are all these guys here? Are they really telling the truth? Who do you trust? But I mean, a thing that kind of took away from it was with the flashback.
Yeah.
That you immediately stop saying who done it and what, because it's all revealed. It's all revealed. There's no big reveal at the end. It's revealed much before.
Yeah, because then when you do cut back to the present day action, you already know, the audience already knows that who it is and what and why they're there.
That element is taken out of it.
Whereas kind of two of the characters don't know that, so they're still figuring it out, but you already know it.
Yeah, you've got all the information.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
I mean, they figure it out pretty quickly too, once Channing Tatum pops up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of see that point, but... Yeah, I still thought it was a good script.
I still love it. I think it's one of his better ones, but I think I did take that element out of it.
I did think that like he did a lot of work on the characters that was good. Apparently, like from interviews I've seen, Quentin Tarantino does a lot of work on backstory of the characters, and you kind of felt these were all like living characters, and also each one had their own personal thing going on, like people they didn't like in the group and who they were suspicious of. And who they were maybe allies with. So, yeah, like there's so many things going on in that cabin between these people. That's what I really liked.
I think like the location was very important and very powerful, and the way it felt and looked, because there was a sense of all these people are trapped here and they can't escape, so they really do need to they're always watching over their shoulder.
That was another big difference from other Tarantino films. There was not a lot of like change of location. Yeah. This is like really harking back to maybe things like Reservoir Dogs, which was mostly in the warehouse with flashbacks.
Well, he says like the whole thing that influenced him was his own film Reservoir Dogs and The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. So that's the two big huge, and they're both the same kind of idea, as they're trapped and they're trying to figure out stuff.
Yeah.
And who's the...
But that was good because I think when you put that constraint on yourself that this whole thing's going to take place in one location, you have to work hard to make it interesting. If you have the option of kind of jumping to other things and putting action scenes in, it's easier to do that kind of film.
The people were there was just the cramped feeling and the suspense throughout it and the paranoia and who do they trust was like the whole thing that made it great for me.
Do you want to talk about the cast?
I mean, who did we have? We had Samuel L. Jackson, Major Marcus Warren. One of the main characters, really, because he was pretty much from the beginning to the end, one of the few that made it.
Yeah, he was good in this. He's been in a few Tarantino films, but this one is probably like the biggest role he's had since Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Or Jackie Brown, he was in... Yeah.
I'd say, I don't know, it's hard to kind of say what one's his biggest one, but it was really one of the main ones. He was one of the best on screen, but I think he usually is. He's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, he's just fantastic. His delivery of kind of some of these lines was just incredible. Yeah. Kurt Russell, who's like, the first guy you're kind of introduced to as well.
Great moustache.
Great facial hair. I mean, Kurt Russell's facial hair should be up for some kind of award.
maybe best moustache.
But yeah, he was really good. Obviously, like, we worked with Tarantino before on Death Proof. Not such a great film.
No, I didn't love that at all. But yeah, he got a really good part and he played it really well. You know, none of the characters are likeable. I've got to say that. Like, they're all bounty hunters and they're not nice people. And, nobody's likeable.
Yeah. Really. We've got Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy Domergue.
She was I really thought she was amazing at it.
She was amazing. She had such a sense of humour. Yeah. Like, she's a horrible, horrible person in the film.
Yeah.
But she plays it with kind of a sense of humour. One of the standout was Chris Mannix.
Walter Goggins, I think.
Yeah. He was really great. Like, he was probably the one that I knew the least before I saw it. But by the end of the film, you just really like him. Which is funny because he's a complete racist and hates Samuel L. Jackson, which you'd think that would automatically be like, nah, I don't like that guy.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's a nice character. Like, you shouldn't be rooting for him, but at the end of it, because he kind of is one of the better guys.
Yeah, he just had a lot of funny lines in it.
And he was apparently a sheriff, so you'd hope he would be decent.
Yeah.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth was really good. Like, the one thing I didn't like about his character was, like, he had an English accent, and I think when they revealed him as one of the gang members, he was called, like, English somebody. But it had, even when they first saw him, it was like a really over-the-top English accent. But I think partly that was meant to be the case.
Yeah, well, if he's coming from England and you're going to the United States, you're not going to have a... You're going to have.
I know, but his accent was like so over the top.
Yeah, but I think it was to get.
When he was revealed, I think he did actually change to like a Cockney accent, didn't he?
Because before he was a bit more posher.
When they met him, he was doing a really upper class English accent.
He was more well spoken.
I've heard people say if you go back and see it a second time, it's better because obviously you know what's going to happen. So where I see him, he was the least suspicious, I have to say. Because the most suspicious was Joe Gage by a long shot.
I don't know.
Or Mexican Bob.
Mexican Bob was pretty shifty. Who played Mexican Bob? Remind me who played Mexican
Bob. I've got it written down here. Damian Barcha. Yeah, I don't know him. I don't know him in. I might be pronouncing that. I might be mangling that pronunciation there.
Mexican Bob was pretty good. Very shifty.
He was really.
They're all very shifty.
He was really good in it.
And then you've got Bruce Dern playing.
Bruce Dern, I thought, was fantastic as like this crotchety old racist guy from the Confederate Army.
Yeah.
And he was basically left in the cabin for window dressing in the plot.
Yeah, everybody else got bumped off in the flashback.
I did
Bruce
like
Dern survived because he looked good in a chair.
Yeah, they were like, let's keep him here. He just gives the place character.
Yeah.
And he was sat there. Yeah, he was really good in it. I really liked him. Michael Madsen, again, was really good. Just playing a really suspicious character. But this is the thing, the guys who were in there, Mexican Bob, Michael Madsen's character, and Tim Roth's character, I think they were meant to be kind of over the top and weird and suspicious, because they were.
Yeah.
So in a sense, like, when you've seen the film, it makes sense why they seem to be acting weird.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, like, you're suspicious of everybody.
Yeah.
Just as the way it goes.
Yeah, the big one, like, I was surprised to see in the film was Channing Tatum. I mean, his name comes up at the beginning in the credits.
So you know he's going to be there. You know he's going to appear eventually.
Yeah, you know he's going to be there. Like, but it goes so long before that flashback that you're thinking, when is he going to come in? Because they're in the middle of a blizzard, and there's other names in the credits as well that you think, like, is this film going to, like, suddenly rush through a whole other plot, like, afterwards? But yeah, he does a really good job, because Channing Tatum is not someone that you kind of think of for a Tarantino role. But Tarantino seems good at picking out an actor and getting them to give a fantastic performance.
Yeah, well, they kind of grossed out Channing Tatum a bit more. I think they made him lose a tooth. You know, it wasn't like in his usual self.
I mean, he wasn't in it. I don't think he was in it long. Oh, in the flashback sequence, he was in quite a while. Yeah. But in the actual, like,
if
the
you've
present
seen it,
day
he
plot,
didn't last long at all.
Yeah, he didn't last long, like, in the present day. But, in the flashback, he was really funny. And then in the flashback, there's a couple of people. There's Zoe Bell in there, who is also in Death Proof. She was good.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of other people. But again, that scene, it's like one scene, really.
Yeah.
And it's not that...
But casting-wise, they got it spot on. Everybody was really good. And it felt...
Yeah, this was a film that really relied heavily on the cast, because it was like his films are so dialogue heavy that you need to have people who can, like, pull off that dialogue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like, if it more action oriented films, like, it doesn't matter if actors can do dialogue. But this is like, if they messed up the dialogue or weren't believable,
yeah, that was going to really affect it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the bigger difference too that you were talking about was he moved away from the kind of normal music or contemporary music into a more classical score.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the music?
Yeah.
So we have Ennio Morricone providing a lot of the score for this, and I know, like, some of the music was from his other films. It wasn't done specifically for this.
Well, a lot of it was from John Carpenter's The Thing. That was a big influence on the film, on his writing, on Quentin Tarantino's writing of it. So when he had the chance to work with Morricone, he was like, "Oh yeah, it'd be really good, but I'm not sure I'm ready to move away from using the music, because that's obviously a big part of his films before." But he was like, "I'd just love the chance to work with him." And to begin with, he was just going to do like the opening theme, and then it moved into, but I've got all this other stuff from The Thing that never got used, so we could use some of that. And then he wrote a lot of other stuff too, but the score's amazing, and it really makes the film. Yeah. It's just adds to it so much, because obviously he's got the link with westerns with
I'd heard some stuff about Morricone and Tarantino. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but this is what I'd heard. That apparently Morricone didn't like the fact that Tarantino uses music, like, doesn't score his films. He basically scores them using music that's already been made, or like songs or pop songs that are already out there. And Morricone was saying, like, look, I'm like trying to write a score for like I would like to write a score for the movie, but you're just using music that's not really done for this movie.
I don't know if he said. I think when they met, he was like, I would love to work with you, but I'm working on other things.
But he has done like at least 3 films now, because he did Inglourious Bastards was Morricone music, Django was Morricone.
But I think it was just a clash of timetables.
Yeah.
For this one, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just do the theme," and then it developed into more because he liked it so much.
Yeah.
And apparently, his wife liked it so much too. Morricone's wife loved it. She was seeing a bit of it, and she was like, "Yeah, you gotta do the score."
All the music fit in this movie. Like, unlike Django, there's no hip hop tracks. There's no.
Did they have a White Stripes song?
Pop track.
They did have a White Stripes song, Apple Blossom, but it worked really well. I think it was on the stagecoach on the journey in, and it worked
really fit. Like, I didn't even notice until you told me that afterwards, because I just thought it's a Western sounding track. It could have been composed for the film.
And there was even some music inside the movie. You had like Silent Night, Mexican Bob on the piano.
Yeah.
He fluffed it a couple of times, but it got there in the end.
Yeah, and the song they played when one of the characters, I think it might have been Michael Madsen's character, goes outside to kill the guy, and they're doing Now You're All Alone from Last House on the Left. I really like that track.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember it from that film, but apparently that's where it's from. And that worked really well.
And there's also a moment when Daisy Domergue gets the guitar off the wall after asking permission, obviously, because she's a hostage. Well, not a hostage, but she's got a bite in her arm. And she plays a couple of tracks, or a track and a couple of verses of a song.
She plays Jim Jones at Botany Bay, which really fits in the thing.
Yeah,
I think Bob Dylan did a version of the song, but yeah, it kind of works. Because again, if you know the song, like people have said, like there was a track in there from Exorcist 2, which obviously if you've seen the film, you might think, oh, that's taken me out of it because it's from that film. But I didn't know some of these songs, so to me it just felt like they fit really well.
I thought it all fitted really well.
Okay, so do you want to do what things we liked, what things we didn't like? One of the things that I really liked about this was the cinematography, being shot on 70mm Panavision, which I think Tarantino made a big deal of. That was like, he really wanted to do that.
It was a deal breaker.
Yeah. And that was really fantastic. Like, from the opening shots, you've got some beautiful landscape shots there.
It worked really well in the snow and the opening scenes.
And even like when they move inside the cabin, it worked because you've got so much detail and you can see things happening in the background.
It's all about what people can see out the corner of their eye, and it kind of worked well with that.
It's really one of those films where like usually kind of your eye might be guided to certain things. Like a lot of films, like what they do is use very fast edits, and you're kind of forced to like concentrate on like look at this, look at this, look at this. Like it's drawing your attention. But this film kind of holds on a scene, lets them do their dialogue, and your eye is free to like check out what's happening around the room. And there's a couple of shots where like you'll see people in the background doing something, and you'll be like, what are those two guys doing over there?
It just adds to the suspense of the movie.
Like we said, I think the score, like both of us, like
the score was fantastic, and I could listen to it all day, and it makes you so suspicious of everyone if you listen to that.
And also like the dialogue, like it hinges really on the dialogue, and I think he did a really good job of writing it.
I'd say that's what he's famous for, is just his dialogue. I mean, any kind of script writing course you do, there'll be like a moment, there'll be a week they'll do some Tarantino.
I mean, he really writes like dialogue like poetry. Like I've seen people like putting online like selections of things like characters say in this movie, and it kind of gives you chills just when you read it. Like I've seen people put like the final part of the scene, they're reading the Lincoln letter, and it's like, "Old Mary Todd's calling, it must be time for bed." And then the guy says,
that's a nice touch.
That's a nice touch. But it's like, I don't know why, but it's like, that's just for some reason, it's like, that's so well written.
You're sitting there going, that is a nice touch.
It was a nice touch. It was a very nice touch. One thing I liked about that was it's kind of like a self-referential joke, because obviously it's like Tarantino saying, "Nice, good job, Quentin.
Good job, me."
That's a nice touch. What about the bad things? Was there anything you didn't like?
The only single gripe I have about it is because of the flashback. It takes away the aspect of trying to figure out who did what, and I was very much enjoying trying to figure out who exactly it was, and the suspense of that. And that's immediately taken out when you go back to the flashback and you know everything. Yeah. But the characters don't know it, but you do.
So you would have rather, like, maybe they didn't include the flashback.
I mean, you need the flashback, really, because you're never going to find out what happened to Sweet Dave and and many.
Yeah.
But it's just, it takes away that aspect of it. But I do think it worked really well, and I did really like it.
Yeah, it's kind of
But
a
that's the only
Tarantino
tiny
thing, because
thing that-
he does flashbacks quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of flashbacks in his films.
But I just feel with that one, because it was in the cabin, it was all about the suspense and the paranoia, that took that away. And that's the only thing that I didn't like. But I loved it overall.
One of the things I had was like the length of the film, because I've heard other people talk about this. For me, like, I didn't get bored through the film, but I can understand why people might have thought, like the first half especially is kind of a long wait to get to that cabin.
A few people I've spoke to have not enjoyed the length of the movie and the intermission. People didn't like the intermission, but I thought it was alright. I mean, it's the first movie I've been to ages.
The worst part was the intermission, when the film stopped playing.
Yeah, but they were just like, I don't need that, I don't want that. They just didn't like the length of the movie and the fact that I had that break, and they're like, I don't want a break, I just want to finish the movie. But I liked it.
I think like the way he made it with like the second half is all the action. I mean, you couldn't have done it the other way around anyway. But the fact that the second half's action, it's like you leave the cinema feeling like, oh, I've seen like a pretty good violent action film.
I just thought it added to the kind of experience of it, an old-fashioned feel. But
yeah, it kind of draws you in, because it's like, obviously, it makes it authentic because you're spending so much time with them. You're, in a sense, you're getting to know them so much. Even, I mean, at the beginning, there's a couple things with the dialogue where it's like you can kind of see Tarantino's like setting them up. Like with the Chris Mannix characters, like a long discussion of like, oh, I was on the Confederate side, and I was Marcus Warren, I was on the other side, and you're kind of like, oh, this is all set up for some later payoff. But again, it's like you do kind of need that, but it was like a long setup. The flashback sequence.
So you didn't like that, or you liked that?
Yeah, the flashback sequence, I think just the same as you said. Like, it kind of took away from the whodunit aspect of it. And the one thing that I had, I kind of liked both parts of the movie, but I can see that it is like cut and shut together. Of the first half is like character dialogue, building suspense, and the second half is more like an action, more like an exploitation flick, if anything. Because you do have it's over the top. It's over the top violence. I mean, it's not even believable violence. It's so over the top. It's kind of, that's the thing. Tarantino, I think he's even said this himself. He makes two kinds of movies. He makes his realistic films, and then he makes like his exploitation films. So like Kill Bill would fall into the second category. It's not a believable story at all. Like, she goes and trains with a kung fu master in China, and she's fighting these people. Not believable at all. Whereas something like Reservoir Dogs...
So you're saying this isn't believable, or it is believable?
What I'm saying is, like, he's saying, like, he makes two kinds of films. Like, Reservoir Dogs is, like, a believable crime story, and then Kill Bill's, like, basically like an cool action film, which doesn't have to be believable. Whereas this feels like, the first half he's gone for, like, make it believable. Like, you're really there with the characters... And then the second half is so over-the-top violent, there's like, that's almost like a different type of movie.
I don't know, I think it still works well together. I didn't feel like, to me, it was a totally different thing. It just felt like it was all kicking off, really. Like, it still worked well, it still was believable. Admittedly, it was quite gory, but I mean, I've never seen anybody shot in the head with a revolver before, so I don't know.
So, would you recommend this film to anyone, or do you think it's... If you
like westerns and you like Quentin Tarantino films, I think there's something for you there. But I mean, if you don't like westerns and you don't like Quentin Tarantino films, it's maybe not for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of westerns, so I was coming at this more from being a fan of Quentin Tarantino, and I had a good time. The only thing I would recommend it to people who like good script, good dialogue, and like well shot things. But maybe not so much for people who are looking for something that's like
just
an all-out action.
Yeah, you're not gonna...
Yeah, that's not what this film is really about. Like, it's kind of slow and methodical build-up. And then the second half is violent action. But yeah, definitely... I would definitely go see it if you're a fan of film. If you're like a real film connoisseur, because you'll pick up on things which are like...
And also, if you're really into like... If you're not enjoying like maybe digital and you want a kind of older school kind of feel, then go and see it.
Yeah.